In Chapter 6, we're going to concentrate on the solving and graphing of inequalities. We're going to start off with the solving of inequalities in one variable. And when we do those, we're going to graph our solutions. So we need to do a little reminder of how to graph an inequality with one variable. You guys would have done this in middle school, but of course we want to do a little refresher. So the basics of that come from the discussion of should we use in our graph an open circle or a closed circle. We discussed earlier in the year, and you remember from the past, that there are 4 different inequality signs. There is a greater than, a less than, greater than or equal to, or a less than or equal to. And these 4 signs are going to help determine the meaning of our inequality statement, and which one of these signs is used is going to determine if we have a closed circle, or an open circle, or a closed circle in our graph. So let's start off by graphing the statement x is greater than 4. Now when you're graphing an inequality statement for me, what I want you to do, of course with any inequality statement that you're graphing, you're going to start with a number line. In the center of that number line, I want you to put a little tick mark, and I want you to label that with the number from our inequality statement, in this case of 4. Then I want you to put 2 more tick marks, one on the left and one on the right of the center ones, and I want you to label those with the number just smaller, in this case the 3, and the number just larger, in this case of 5, than the number that we are graphing. I don't need you to graph any other numbers other than these 3 numbers. Then we're going to decide on if we're going to use the open circle or the closed circle. In this case we have a greater than, so we're going to use an open circle, and that goes on the tick mark with our number, which is 4. Now we need to look at the direction that we're going to shade, because inequality statements represent a variety of solutions, not just one specific solution. So this is saying that x can be any number that is larger than but not equal to 4. So we want to shade where all the numbers are going to be larger or bigger than 4, which means we're going to shade towards the 5. And that would be our statement. Another one that we could graph would be x is less than or equal to 2. Again, we draw our number line, we put our 3 tick marks, the middle is the number that we're graphing, the number smaller and the number larger, in this case 1 and 3. Our sign this time is a less than or equal to, which gets a closed circle, because in these our number can be equal to 2, and it also includes all of the numbers smaller than 2, so we want to shade where the numbers are smaller than 2, which is to the left towards the 1. In the case of graphing a decimal or a fraction, for example, if we were graphing x is less than negative 3.5, again we're going to start out the same, draw our number line with our negative 3.5 in the middle, but in this case we want to make sure that our numbers that are one smaller and one larger, you've got a little bit of ability here to use some discretion. You could go one smaller and one larger like we did on these others up here, or you could go a half smaller and half larger because we're dealing with the number 3.5. So for example, I might want to say negative 3 and negative 4. I could have also used a negative 2.5 and a negative 4.5, which would be each one away. Our sign is a less than, so we get an open circle, and we want to go smaller, which is towards the left.